Hello world, it's Angelot, and this video is actually for Malcolm, who I met at the D3 Unconf the other day, and he was really stoked to be learning D3, trying to learn blockbuilder to make, his first few visualizations, and just sent me this block, which is pretty cool. It uses data map, which is a nice library built on top of D3 to make it easy to visualize mapping data. So here we have lynchings by state. So each state has a code, and then the number of white people lynched and black people lynched in that state. And here it's showing red for majority white lynchings and black for majority, blue for majority black lynchings. So what I want to do real quick is bring this into blockbuilder, show a couple of tips, because I promised Malcolm I would make some more videos showing how to use blockbuilder, making it, demo it. And then I want to try to adapt this visualization into this format, which is something that Mike Bostock did not too long ago. And I've really taken to this grid method for showing state-by-state things, because it gives equal weight to all the states visually, and it will show patterns where you want to see things at the state level more than like the geographic level. So let's try that out. Hopefully this won't take more than 10 minutes or so, and yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to start with hitting this bookmark that I have, which is just going to change the URL from blocks.org to blockbuilder.org. So now I have this block in blockbuilder. You can see the code here scrolls slightly differently. This is so that you can do things like change these, but I can also click here to bring up the editor over, the rendered block over the editor. So I could do stuff like change this, which we probably don't actually want to change that much. This changes the color. We can choose the color pickers. We can also go into side-by-side mode, which is handy because you can see more of the visualization here and the code on the right side at the same time. So a few things that I would recommend doing just to make this example slightly more accessible is I would actually remove this title from the visualization itself and move the map up a little bit. See how the map gets cut off in the standard block size, because we have a title up here and we also can add stuff to the README. So normally I would say American lynchings from, what was it, 1830 to 1970. I would also probably add some links to the data here for context, if other people want to see the original data or remix it in some other way. So that README will add a description that will show up in the block when we make it. But before we do that, I also want to pull this data out. I'm just going to cut it all out of the code and put it in its own file. And this will be nice because it will save space in the code, making it easier to read later. And then we'll just do d3.json lynchings.json, and we'll do that. And we're just going to wrap all of this stuff. Now, this should actually be one script and have all of this inside our JSON call. So we don't have data yet because we need to add the file. So over here you can add a new file and you can upload one, but since we cut out the code, we just want to paste one and call it lynchings.json. Hit enter, I'll paste it here. And then we should see unexpected token. Oh, I think maybe do we accidentally have some mail form JSON? Sometimes I go to jsonlint.com, paste that in, validate it. Line 28. There we go. So that's something that can happen. JSON that, so this is JSON, which is much stricter than JavaScript itself. Even though JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, you have to use the right kind of quotation marks, stuff like that. All right, so we have the data in. Let me go back to side by side. So now our code is much shorter. Can remove some more white space here. We load the data from an external file, which is here. And if we were to download this whole gist and run it locally on our machine, this relative path would be the same. You know, like this JSON file is in the same folder essentially as the rest of our code. All right, and so finally I'm just going to fork this. Now I'm not logged in right now, which is fine. So when I fork it, it's going to make an anonymous gist. But I can still share this link back with Malcolm, put it in the comments of the YouTube video, and you can inspect the code. For now, though, what I want to try is taking the state grid and putting the same data with it, and then let's see, open in blockbuilder, and I might change the way I encode. So here, instead of using sort of the threshold technique, which is interesting, right? So you can see where more black or white people were lynched in these states. Maybe I'll show a continuous color scale for how many people were lynched of one race, and then have a button to switch the race. And I'm just going to set out to do that right now, see what happens. So let's see here. First thing I need to do is bring the data. So I'm just going to do that again. Paste it. All right. So this time should be good since I still have it copied. Then here, the first thing I'm going to do is just load the data. Now this data is an object with state codes, right? So first I'm going to get rid of this selected states thing since I don't care about that. So that's just going to leave them all looking the same. And then there's this whole thing about state selected. I'm just going to remove that. Simplify things a little bit. Now this data, let's just console.log the data. Something I do all the time. We can do lookups by state. So when I go through and create all these states, I can make the background color be scaled by one of these. So let me make a color scale. Linear. I'm going to make the domain between 0 and we're going to have to get some max number. So we'll have to calculate the max in a second. And the range we'll do maybe from a light red to a darker red. See how that looks, I'm not sure yet. To get this max, that'll be interesting because we have to loop over the keys of our data. Oops. And then we can say state codes for each. And we'll set our max equal to 0. If d dot, sorry, what was the name of the key? We need to say all right, data d. I want to see what each data. So lynch black or lynch white. So what we can do is calculate a max manually. Data d dot let's just copy this and do the same thing for white. And we should find out 539 is the highest amount of lynchings. All right, so we have our color scale, we have our states. Now let's fill. I can use style here. Fill it. And I believe each of these states should be a code anyway. So if we say return color scale d data d dot lynch blacks black. Oh, it's got to be d dot name. There we go. So we can see the highest there. Now, so usually when this works, I end up clicking fork, or if I'm logged in, I'll fork it and it'll be saved. And maybe I put in a note here. So I'll leave that the fact that it was forked from Mike's block, but I will say, oops. A remix of this block. You can use Markdown. So I'll add that to the README. Now we could add that button, but real quick, just to see what it would look like if we switch them, I will do that. So probably this should just be white like that. So that I'll just make it all the way white. Well, I think instead of making a button, I'm just going to stop it here um, as a demo of remixing two blocks together with a data set and a visualization technique. I hope this was useful. Let me fork this, and I'll put these links in the video comments so that you can play with them yourself. All right, enjoy. Peace.